Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Justina. This is Spiritually Bougie Astrology, and we are going to be looking at the transits for the week of March the 20th through March the 26th. And if you listen to previous podcasts, if you listen to last week's video, or if you listen to the month ahead, you know that we are starting to transition into the more reactive, motivated, for lack of a better way, stomping our foot on the gas type of energy. The thing is like we're going to stomp our foot on the gas in a lot of ways, but it's not going to go as fast as we want. Not at first, but it's more along the lines of like revving the engine. The way I would actually describe this to a girlfriend over the weekend was like, I feel like I'm a racehorse, and I've already had, this last week, putting the gear on, putting on the blinders. I've had the mask, the jockey on back. And now as we get into this week ahead, we've been brought to the lineup, and we can hear the other horses, and we can see just past the gate in front of us, but we haven't started the race yet. Parts of the week ahead is going to be the race. It's going to be the horse on the track, and it's going to be dealing with the effects of what just occurred the weeks leading up to this week. We've been dealing with Pisces season. And if you follow me on Facebook and you follow the Spiritually Bougie Astrology Facebook page, I was calling the Mercury in Pisces timeline the anxious possum energy. Because that's exactly what it was. It was just like, I don't want to do. I didn't expect that. Change. What? What is going on? And that was a lot of the energy, because we were like the guy driving through the fog, and we needed to stay focused on our fog lights because we couldn't necessarily see the highway sign, and we can't see all of the traffic ahead of us. We can't see exactly how far the car in front of us is. So much of what we've been dealing with these last few weeks has been one step at a time, 1 mile per hour, kilometer at a time. We're not going very fast because we've needed to take very careful steps. We have had to deal with things that we've never dealt with before in a lot of ways, sometimes as a collective, sometimes as an individual. We've been dealing with things that haven't just been as sharp as we wanted them to be. They haven't been as clear as we wanted them to be, because everybody has had their head in the shower and the water's been hitting. And this immediate is keeping us from hearing the sound in the next room. We can't hear the hollering. We can't hear the TV. We can't hear the music. We can't hear the dogs barking. We can't hear it. And that has been a big part of the energy for many, many days, until we got to this week in those areas of just not knowing exactly what the next thing has been, not knowing what's been going on in the next room, not knowing what's been going on behind our back. Little by little, this last week had revelation. It had inspiration. It was bringing things to the surface. It brought forth certain topics. It made us deal with certain things. We had a shit show of transits that went through Pisces and Gemini. Gemini was mainly just Mars, and that has been a shit show since August of last year. But it's more been like the squares of everything through Pisces to Mars, and one other transit that was completely separate from these, but still had a very triggering energy. And that was, we had Mars leaf shadow, Mars third square to Neptune, the sun's conjunction to Neptune, the sun squaring Mars, Mercury's conjunction to Neptune, Mercury squaring Mars, the Mercury Cazimi squaring Mars. This is all mutable. And then we're going to add in the Venus-Pluto square that occurred in the signs of Aries and Capricorn. There were things we weren't clear on. There were things that needed to be truly talked about and thought about and dealt with. There were things that were brought to the surface. There were things that were discovered. There were things that was announced. And those initial things, for many of us, were met with anger. They were met with resistance. there was some type of back and forth of, I said one thing, but you only heard what you wanted to hear. And the way that you responded to me was based off of what you wanted to hear, not what I actually said. And there have been tensions, and there have been frustrations, and there have been decisions based off of things that nobody expected to occur. This is both on the micro individual scales and on the macro, on the collective scale. There have been things that have just occurred in recent weeks that were unexplainable, unclear, never happened before, and has required actions that have never been done before. And now we're going to start to see just how that unclear, foggy area of our chart, of our life, of these transits starts to get real clear, and the reaction necessary. We're getting into the reactive energy. Now, this weekend, flowing into Monday, there's one particular part of the transit that started late Saturday night, and we won't kind of get out of the weird loopiness from it until late Monday night. And that is late Saturday evening, Mercury went into Aries. And I like to call Mercury in Aries pop-off season. Instead of being the anxious possum, not being completely clear and just wanting to scream it as the reaction to everything, if we're screaming, it's because we're cussing. Moving forward now. People that have natal Mercury in Aries, like there is no filter. They pop off at the mouth. Whatever they think, just right out the mouth. That's what it is. I have plenty of clients that they're like, I'm a Taurus. I don't act like a normal Taurus. That's because your Mercury is not in Taurus, honey. You don't think like a Taurus. You think like this. Mercury in Aries is, to me, is pop-off season. Whatever we're thinking, we're going to pop off at the mouth. Now, we do still have Mars in Gemini. So the first week of Mercury in Aries, which that's what I'm talking about now. So again, Mercury went into Aries very, very late on March 18th. We'll be dealing with this as we go into this week. And it is going to be a week of these two planets in mutual reception in a house swap. Mars is in Mercury's house, Mercury's in Aries' house. And this has not happened since the beginning of the Mars retrograde. That's how we started the Mars retrograde. Mercury went into Aries, it entered mutual reception, Mars turned retrograde. Therefore, everything Mercury was dealing with things on behalf of Mars. They was dealing with things that needed to be dealt with in that moment as Mars was just sitting and spinning, because that's where he was for a month. Now Mars has passed that point of the sky. We've recapped certain things from last year. We've rehashed certain things. And now we're in a different area of the chart. We're in new territory for Mars. Mercury is now in Mars' sign. Now, the thing about all this timeline of Mars going through Mercury is that if you didn't have your facts straight, the fact checkers, people-wise, checked you. And they told you how you were wrong. And they voiced certain things. Now the voicing is going to be a lot more bitchier. It really is. You're going to hear things like, oh, it's pop-off season. I actually already dealt with this morning on my Facebook page. Like, one of my posts was, it's the start of pop-off season. And somebody commented immediately like, the hell it is. To which I responded with, thank you for the example. Thank you for the example. Because it was an example. It was a great example. I made a simple statement. Your response to that was to react. And you react in a boastful way. And we're going to see that more. There is a lot of ideas that can come through, but we're going to see a lot more purposeful energy of not being able to keep the filter at full filtration method. There's going to be a lot of foot and mouth disease over the next few weeks. However, at least the first week can be a lot more constructive because of that mutual reception. much of what we start to discuss and much of our ideas and much of the logistics and the communication and the purchases, this is going to be a big thing, the technology, the software and things like that we deal with in the first week of Mercury going through Aries, this first week is going to build into what Mars has been dealing with, the area that Mars has just changed in our chart. So whenever it comes to the week ahead, we are dealing with some people just popping off at the mouth and some people being real constructive and building something real deliberate from the energy. So what we're going to also see is that as certain parts of this week progress now on a macro sense, whatever is going to happen, we're going to react. We're going to say exactly how we feel about the situation. Okay. The other thing about Sunday going into Monday and this first little bit of Mercury in Aries while the sun is still in Pisces is it's going to be really easy to kind of overstep something, overshoot, but it's like a clumsy overstep. It's like I have mental energy, but physically I'm still lethargic. I can think really fast. I can talk really fast, but physically I'm not up to speed yet. I need a day to just chill. Because the clumsiness will be very, very rampant in a lot of ways. So let's do this right here. Share the screen. And get into Monday, March 20th. And we're going to start the date. The moon will be in Pisces. We're going to have a couple of energies kind of play through on Monday. All of them I like. And the way I'm going to discuss Monday for a lot of people is like, this is bare minimum Monday. It truly is. It is a bare minimum Monday. If you come into the office on Monday and you have a slew of things on your desk that are from the week before, this is the only thing you're going to get done today. If you don't have a slew of things on your desk, but you try to do a bunch of things last week, what you're going to find on Monday is that some of those things that got done last week, people didn't know what they were doing. People weren't clear. Oh, I thought I needed this kind of, I've been in home building for so many years. I thought I needed this type of metal finish, or I needed this much lumber, but I really needed this much. Like I didn't order enough. I didn't order the right kind. I didn't do something just right. There was an area that was unclear that now we're going to be kind of cleaning up the mess on Monday. And this is why I'm saying it's kind of a bare minimum Monday. You're not going to have all of the answers. We're not going to have everything put clear. And there will be some tensions and frustrations and people not going to be happy with it. And there's a couple reasons as to why. One, Neptune and the sun are still in their square to Mars. Mars is still feeling the energy of Neptune, but he's starting to get clear of it. The sun is about to change signs and go into Aries and go into one, its exaltation, and two, Mars' sign. So parts of what we're dealing with on Monday very much are going to be affecting the same areas of the chart, but it's kind of a closeout. So like I said, bare minimum on Monday. Another thing that's occurring is we've got Venus making a conjunction to the North Node. Venus is love. It is pleasure. It is desire. It is food. It is music. It is the things that we want, the Venusian things that we want, making a conjunction to the North Node, to Rahu, to this place of devouring, of wanting to consume. I have a desire for something. And there is desire in this energy, and it will be exact on Monday. We will be feeling it on Sunday. We'll be feeling it on Tuesday, but it is exact on Monday. Venus will make this conjunction to the North Node. And internally, many of us are going to feel very called upon to go towards something very Venusian, whether that is an individual, whether that is an idea, whether that is a location. Like, I just need to go experience this. I've got to call that person. I've got to have this conversation. That can be a lot of the energy too. as we're in on Monday. But really, there's something very constructive in a lot of ways whenever it comes to Monday. We have Pluto at 29 degrees making a sextile to the sun. The thing about Pluto and the sun's sextile is it's not just on Monday. We're feeling it Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all the way into Friday, because both the sun and Pluto are going to change signs this week. So very much what happens on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday directly impact Pluto's transition into Aquarius on Thursday. So understand, not one single transit is just one single transit. All of them are kind of a fluttering energy that's carrying us through. The other little thing that we're going to have, which I actually do like, and it's going to be the moon in Pisces will also sextile Uranus. Having the sun in Pisces, the moon in Pisces, and it's not even a new moon, making sextiles to both Pluto and to Uranus means whatever is starting to come into flourishing, whatever is starting to take shape, whatever inspiration we have coming through, wherever we have been slightly foggy about something, has a tangible point coming together, because we are talking about emotional Pisces energy connecting to earth signs. So there is something very constructive here. There is something that can be very beneficial if you work with people as they're calling through and you are just understanding to the plight. You're going to get better results in getting things fixed. And regretfully, a lot of us are going to be fixing some things on Monday. There's going to be a lot of that type of energy. But there is something very constructive and very inspirational in a lot of different ways. Just know that Monday is not, it's not a huge day. There's not a bunch of like terrific transits, but it's not a heavy day either. It is a day of kind of catching up from what we have dealt with and understanding that we need to be understanding of other people just as much as we wish for them to understand us. Okay. Now, overnight, Monday into Tuesday, there is a couple of things, one that's very obvious and one that is not so obvious. One is going to be the moon is going to make a conjunction to Neptune. So I'm going to fast forward this by day, but then kind of just leave this alone. This is a good spot for this to be. Overnight, the moon is going to make a conjunction to Neptune. While the moon is separating from Neptune, the moon is also going to square Mars. But at the same time, Mercury is going to be in what is called a contra antitia to Neptune. We're having an adjustment in the energy. We're having something very hidden being shaken up, emotionally driven, that requires a certain type of action, requires a certain amount of communication. It requires a certain amount of travel. It's going to require something. An area that has been unclear will internally click and become very clear. Mercury is our mind. It is the way that we handle things logically. It has to do with actual communication, whether that is written communication, verbal communication. It has to do with technology. There is a lot of different things connected to Mercury. Mercantile type things, whenever you buy something, merchant as things, those are going to be Mercury. Logistics, for your stuff to be at the store, it has to travel to the store. That would be the logistic aspect. There's something very much that needs to be talked about, looked at, traveled to, that we're going to almost innately know when we wake up Tuesday morning. There will be something that we weren't expecting, given that we're talking about the Neptunian energy, that feeds into our spiritual energy that makes us break through something. Mercury and that Mars energy. Let's break through this cloud, break through this shadow, break through this area that has been unclear, and allow an area of inspiration to take logistical steps forward. It's not necessarily full on tangible, but it's like, okay, I'm over that part. Now I see exactly what steps to take and actually being able to put those steps on paper, creating the new plan, something that was revealed that we weren't expecting, something that came through from the past, something that has hit our emotional heartstrings over the days prior, leading closer to this new moon, has now inspired a different type of communication, a different type of action. And considering Venus is still very close to its conjunction to the North Node, it is a point of desire, romanticism, inspiration, spirituality that needs to be voiced, that needs to be pronounced, that needs to be announced. There is a shift in both a spiritual area, an emotional area, and a logical area that requires action. And that action really amplifies when we get to the new moon, which is going to happen midday. Literally by noon, the moon will have made its way into Aries and it will make a conjunction to the sun. March 21st, it is the start of Aries season. The start of Aries season is the start of the zodiacal new year. Our zodiac signs start at Aries. This is new year, new me stuff. This is a new moon at the 0-degree mark of Aries. But it's not going to be our only new moon that's going to be conjunct, or that's going to happen in Aries. It's not. There's going to be another one at the end of Aries season. When I've meditated on this new moon and I've meditated on this transit and I've put all this together, what keeps coming to me is very clear. Whatever happens this week requires a certain amount of activity. It is a reaction to things that have just occurred. That's going to be both on a micro sense and a macro sense. So big picture things and individuals. A lot of what we're going to start to deal with is going to be reacting to certain energies. And those reactions after this week are going to require a lot of nurturing. But this is the reactive energy. This is taking action energy. And that's where we're at with this new moon. This new moon launches all the rest of the energy that's going to carry us through the rest of this year, but primarily what's going to carry us through the rest into eclipse season. So this new moon's energy carries us through really the next 2 months, carries us all the way to the new moon in Taurus that's going to happen deeper in May. This week starts the reaction and the action and the activity that really carries us through the next 2 months. All right. Seeing the unimaginable, allowing our creation or our imagination manifest into taking shape. That is this type of energy this week. I like the new moon in Aries, but I also am very curious about this new moon in Aries because this new moon is still in that sextile to Pluto. This new moon is still in a square to Mars, who is the host of this new moon. This new moon is also occurring where Jupiter was back during the Capricorn new moon that happened on December 21st. So we're looking at taking bigger shapes and taking bigger steps into an energy that we've already been in for quite some time. It's just we didn't have all of the information. We didn't have all of the decisions, all of the info, all of the need, all of the tangible points. But we're going to start to feel them after this week. Not everybody's going to like what they feel. And whatever we have that we don't like, again, you're going to know it because people are going to keep their mouth shut. They're just not. Okay. Getting into the 22nd. The 22nd is really kind of like riding the hangover, for lack of a better way to say it. You kind of ride through your hangovers the next day. This is the hangover of the new moon. So we're still riding the new moon wave. We're going to be having the moon make a conjunction to Chiron and to Jupiter. So what I like about this is, remember, whenever we do take action in certain ways, if you take it correctly, if you take it in alignment with where you're at in your chart, if you take certain steps in a more spiritual attunement way and not based off of your ego, fortune favors the bold. And we have the ability to create our own luck in this energy. Another way to look at this is seeing how recent reactions start to affect another area of our chart that directly affects that Jupiter-like energy. Jupiter's been in a conjunction to Chiron all of last week. It means a lot of the actions and a lot of things that were occurring last week had a healing quality to them. It had a quality of making us remember wounds that need to be tended to. Even if they were deep-seated wounds, some people didn't just have a bandage come off. Some people actually had like the whole thing. We have to re-break the bone to make it heal back properly, that type of thing. If somebody had to have a bone re-broken, if you misstepped when I told you to watch your step during that Mars-Neptune square, and we've had to deal with a foot injury, then we're seeing like the full effect of that type of thing. And that kind of thing can come together. We can have something come together in a very unexpected way, but we can also have the after effects of previous situations come together in both a positive and negative light. It really just depends on where this is at in your chart. And what I will do is an additional video that is specific to the new moon. It'll be the new moon and Pluto and what those things are doing. But I'm going to do that based off rising sign. This video, I want to stick to just the transits of the week. I'll do another video of the new moon and the rising signs. There will be adjustments in how we see certain things in the world, how we need to, how this adjustment, how this new moon starts to transform a whole other area, how this energy requires this area to change. And we're going to feel that more whenever we get to the 23rd. But I want to still talk about one aspect of the 22nd, and that is that this is the last day of Pluto going through Capricorn. And I feel like as the moon gets closer to Jupiter, Pluto's in a Saturn ruled sign, and he's going to go into another Saturn ruled sign. But where is Saturn? In Jupiter's sign. As the moon makes its conjunction to Jupiter, as something comes together, whether it's information, whether it's an opportunity, whatever that is, we immediately feel that effect of how Pluto, this area of fear and power and transformation and corruption and things like that, how Pluto now shows you how to transform. Because Pluto is also a very big planet of transformation, and Pluto is going to adjust from Capricorn into Aquarius overnight from the 22nd into the 23rd. I have to bump this by an hour, I think. Yep. Okay. I moved the wheel a little bit more than you guys would have wanted. I apologize. Anyways, Monday the 23rd, this is 7:42 a.m. Here is Pluto. Pluto changes signs. Pluto is a generational planet. And Pluto, whenever it changes signs, it affects everybody in different ways. We are looking at Pluto now going into this area of the chart that requires transformation, but this is Aquarius. The thing about Aquarius is the sign of people, of the masses, of the collective. And whatever unimaginable actions, the distorted actions that have just occurred that result in reactions this week with the new moon, with the moon still in Aries on this day. We actually wake up, the moon is still in Aries, so we're still in new moon energy. We see Pluto shift into this sign that affects everybody. Therefore, a lot of the recent situations and the recent actions and the recent decisions, the recent situations are going to transform this area of our chart. Even if it's just a temporary transformation, it's going to transform this area. Why would it be a temporary transformation? Because Pluto, if you've listened to the beginning of March, the whole month ahead forecast, this is a generational planet that is only putting his pinky toe into the water. He's just dipping his toes in the pool. Like, that water's not warm enough yet. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go eat a taco. I'm going to go get a drink, whatever. This is the timeline of the pinky toe. And that it's going to last for a couple of months. And this is where it starts. It's a very long month. When I'm saying months, I know, but that's what this is. That's what this feels like. It's a wave of energy. And think of what a pinky toe does, or think of whenever you drop something in water, you see the wave, you see the ripple. Recent actions has a ripple effect. And we're going to see things that are going to occur, not just in our individual lives, but in the big picture, on the macro scale, that again is going to cause us to have a certain amount of reactions. And we're going to have to change certain things. Where would our changes be? It's going to be based off fixed areas of our life and how we have dealt with them. There's a shift in our mindset coming. And it really starts this week. And it starts with that new moon, and it starts with Pluto going into Aquarius. Those two being so simultaneous, the sun still being within that sextile to Pluto. It's very, very cohesive here. And they're feeding into one another. We're going to have an idea of some parts of it Monday morning, but we're not going to know the full effects of it until we get deeper into the week. Now, what the moon is going to do on Thursday is it's going to sextile Mars, change signs, go into Taurus, and immediately square Pluto. This is not a normal transit that we've been accustomed to. Usually there has been squares to Pluto whenever Pluto's been in Capricorn. That's what we've been dealing with since 2008. Pluto's going to change signs, and immediately afterwards, the moon is going to make a square to Pluto. There will be a challenge. There will be something we're not expecting in this fixed area. There will be interactions that aren't completely, understandable, that aren't completely on the same page. They're constructive adjustments that are necessary for the big picture scale. That's where we're at. We're rolling something out that's going to shift the change. If there was previously an announcement, this is the launch date. If there was previously an idea, now this is more like, oh, I'm going to start my own business out of my garage. This is, the garage isn't the garage anymore. That's what this starts to feel like. And we have to deal with the steps that follow. And we have to deal with those changes. And we have to deal with how we can make an adjustment in our inspiration. Now, the other thing about getting to Thursday and going into Friday is that Neptune is finally going to also leave shadow. So areas that we have been very confused about, situations or people that we have been confused about, literally since last summer, will start to finally get really clear. There's going to be clarity, whether it's that person coming back. That I don't feel like is going to be happening so much. If there's going to be people coming back, it's going to be in April, so to speak, once we get to the first, I'm going to say the first full Mercury retrograde. We started this year in a Mercury retrograde, but that was from last year. So we're going to go into a Mercury retrograde that'll happen in eclipse season that will bring certain people back into the fold. But this is like having to deal with parts of that past that we need to adjust and just feel the shift and process certain things. It's time for an adjustment. It's time for the shift. It's time to process that difference. All right. If Pluto in Aquarius brings in a lot of like heavy big picture changes, again, Mercury's in Aries. Whatever it is, we're not going to be quiet about it. If it's something as big as like suddenly TikTok gets banned. This is the best example I got. Millions of users use TikTok. I'm not a fan of TikTok, but still. If suddenly TikTok was to get banned, then there's going to be a whole different platform of how people want to voice their opinion, and they will find another way to voice it. They're going to get on Twitter, they're going to get on Facebook, they're going to get on Instagram, they'll get on other platforms to voice just how frustrated they are with that decision. That's the level of energy that I'm talking about. Like, whatever comes through and we don't like it, we're going to say it very quickly. Okay. That's the 23rd. That is Thursday. Now we're going to go to Friday. Friday, the moon is going to be in Taurus. And we'll start the day with the moon making a conjunction to Venus. And then we were going to end the day with the moon making a conjunction to Uranus. So we've got one area of the chart that is just kind of coming together. Venus is in its home sign. The moon is our emotions. It's the things that we, look at intuitively and empathically. And there's something that can be very beneficial. It's a great morning for going to get coffee or having a quick conversation. We have something very Venusian that needs to come together right here. Good transactions, good feedbacks, good closings for my people that are in, real estate. But then as the day progresses and as more things come out and as more things get said, and as more people have the ability to voice their frustrations, by the time we get to the end of the day, we're ready to break free. We're ready to break out of our shell. We're ready to break out of this situation. Like, as Friday progresses, we're ready for that change of scenery and needing to take a break from reality and take a break from the situation. And we need the markets to close. Like, we need that shift and that adjustment. Like, closing time is very important by the end of Friday. So Friday evenings will be interesting if you have to work the evening shift type of thing. But if you are more in the daytime worldly element where you're doing, the Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, Friday morning is starting off with like, I had my Cheerios, I had my coffee, I'm feeling good. And then as the day progresses and more things start to kind of go haywire, we're going to feel it and we're going to be ready to just walk away from a lot of things. Why do I say it so specifically? Because Pluto is now in Aquarius and Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius. And I feel like as that moon makes its conjunction to Uranus, we again can be very triggered by the recent effects, by the recent shift, by the recent decisions. And again, we will be in a reactionary energy. We'll be reacting to certain things, reacting to the way things have been said, reacting to this one area and want to break free. Break away, take a break, take a step back, cool your jets if you have the ability to. As we get into next week, we will be a lot calmer in certain ways versus Friday. Friday is going to be a lot more amplified in the pop off as we get deeper into the day. So again, be very mindful. Be very mindful as Friday progresses, because there will be something unexpected, something very triggering, something that can come through Friday afternoon that can just, it's allowing certain things to come together. But sometimes 2 + 2 is fish, and it's frustrating. Fish is a 4-letter word. So it's still 4, but it's still fish. Okay. Saturday really hits the shift. Take the step back on Saturday. Feel yourself take the step back. I want to break away. I need to do something different. I need to make a change, because when we get into Saturday, Mars changes signs. So let's reflect. What has happened this week? The sun has changed its sign. The sun changed signs, Pluto changed signs, and now Mars is changing signs. And Mars has been in Gemini since August of last year. There have been things that we have been dealing with since August of last year. For some of us, it has been changing our routine, changing our work, changing this one area of life, changing our mindset, doing certain things, allowing a certain amount of progression to happen. And now we're kind of bringing it to that next level that we can actually start to show other people. And we're going to see how this recent change, these months of shifts and change and adjustments and spiritual tests and universal tests, whatever you refer to it as, now have to go into a different area, a different mentality. And it requires a certain amount of nurturing. Why do I say nurturing? Because Cancer is a sign of nurturing. It is the fourth sign in the zodiac. Ironically, it actually says 4 because the ascendant is in Aries right here. But Cancer, it is our home, and it is our home life. It is maternal energy. It is motherhood. There is an area of our life that now needs a certain amount of nurturing. This nurturing very much feeds from recent events. So if we have launched something, we've taken something to the next level, if we're making an adjustment, then this is the area that needs to be nurtured. If we have just broke free, we've had a certain situation, we've had certain things come to the surface, certain lies, certain stories that have been proven to be untrue. Now the nurturing is us and how we progress from it. We reacted from the lies, from the action, from those things. And now we need to take care of ourselves. And we need to make these adjustments in this area of life, of relationships, of this connection to maternal energy. If we have certain, if we've had certain things going on in our home life, then this is great to rebuild that area, to put more infrastructure in that area, to really put something together in a very tangible way. I actually do like Mars in Cancer. Mars is said not to do well in Cancer, but I actually have a natal Mars in Cancer at 0 degrees, ironically enough. So this will be my Mars return. But on top of that, like, I've seen other people with Mars in Cancer, and I have seen that it does incredibly well for people in real estate and land development and building, because we're talking about literally homes and things like that. Mars being that engineer, the person with tools, building is huge. So what we're going to see is the need for infrastructure, the need to nurture the change, the need to add the extra element. We can have passion and fire and all these great ideas, but these ideas have to take a different kind of shape. And the next 6 weeks of just Mars and Cancer will, one, take us into eclipse season. Both of the eclipses are going to be Martian eclipses, as in they're going to be eclipses in the Mars signs, while Mars is in Cancer. So a lot of where we're going from this week carries us through eclipse season, and it carries us through this area where we have to put in an infrastructure, where we need to nurture something. If we have seedlings, we need to allow them to sprout and to grow. If we have seedlings that we've just done, I'm using an example, a real life example in my house, by the way. My mom's doing seedlings right now. Then we need to build the flower boxes. If we're doing something bigger, then we need to build the infrastructure to make it happen. If you're just waiting for everything to fall into place, it's not going to fall that way. We have to do certain actions to make it happen. So these are going to be our steps in how we manifest things and how we allow for manifestations to take shapes. Our action is going to be very considerate, in a lack of a better way, conservative. It's going to be very structured, and it's going to be very much in that way that requires, it's going to sound really weird. It's going to be very mom-like. I need to build this. I need to do the steps. I need to bake the cake. That's kind of this energy. Everybody is about to get thrown into the oven in one way, shape, or form. It is Aries season. It's very, very late. Okay. Now, as we continue into the 25th, later in the evening, the moon is going to go into Gemini. And as Saturday progresses and we're trying to do more things and we're trying to build more things and we're trying to put those things together, what you're going to fall into once the moon goes into Gemini is a lot of overthinking and a lot of anxiety. We need to do something very logical. We're talking about the moon will make a trine to Pluto here. Pluto has already changed signs, so we already know whatever this energy reflects from him. We understand that there are certain parts of the process, but we are going to get into a part of late Saturday and into Sunday where we need to really put that plan on paper, where we need to put the steps together, or else we're never going to quit thinking about it. We need to start pricing things out and looking at the inventory and looking what all the stuff that we need to do those next steps to take that next area to launch what we're launching. We need to be methodical about it. And something about Saturday and going into Sunday is literally the method. You can, give a man a fish, he will eat for a day. But if you teach a man to fish, this is going down the YouTube rabbit hole type of energy next weekend. This is putting everything in line, really getting that infrastructure in our mind, something that needs to take a different shape, that needs to come together in a tangible way. And over the next 6 weeks, we're really going to see the shape coming through. We have been inspired, saying that very nicely. We have been forced to react. Not as nice of a way to say it. We've been forced to deal with certain things because we have been blindsided because of the decisions were outside of our decision-making process. And now we are having to deal with the after effect. There's a lot of after effect in this energy. We have to take certain steps forward. This is a part of the steps of taking forward. Oh, take the step back Friday night. Not a big night for like going out and doing a bunch of things. Understand that as our minds start to continue and we start to overthink things and overprocess things, and we're putting a new part of the energy together going into Saturday, into Sunday, just understand that it's time for this. It's time for this adjustment. And it's time for us to go in this route. There can be something very, very constructive to the energy. Our mind can immediately be alert when we wake up Sunday morning. It can be very easy for us to get inspired and literally stay up all night Saturday because we don't want to finish what we're doing. We can't even stop thinking about it until we do finish. So there's going to be a lot of this type of inspirational action. If it's been the negative sense, if like, okay, I'm going to say the worst case scenario, if somebody just got laid off, then this is taking the time to do the resume and to look at all the different possibilities. Do I move? Do I stay here? Do I do something else? Do I, completely change it up? Do I go back to school? That's this type of energy. If we are building the company or we're making that adjustment in that sense of like, I don't want to work for an individual, I want to be self-employed, then this is doing that deep dive of how we become self-sufficient and self-employed in this area. We start to make that adjustment in our home life, whether it's a forced adjustment or not. We're making those adjustments in our home life, and we're seeing this area that needs to be nurtured. And we understand that parts of these next 6 weeks, this disruptive energy in this area, it can be both chaotic and pivotal in a lot of ways. And it really just kind of comes down to, again, your individual charts and your individual karma whenever it comes to what Mars is doing. Mars can either be complete chaos and annihilate everything that we've worked on, or Mars can be very, very pivotal and show you exactly how we can strengthen the structure. It really comes down to how we are as individuals and what we are creating in this energy and how we are allowing things to manifest through us. If you're really far out of whack, or you know people that are really far out of whack, they're going to feel it by the end of this week. The new moon in Aries is going to launch a lot of things of what Mars is going to be doing once Mars goes into Cancer. The new moon in Aries is going to be a direct effect to that Plutonian energy whenever Pluto goes into Aquarius. The reaction to everything that has been so foggy and so unclear in the weeks prior to this week, now we're going to get clear. And now we're going to see the necessary steps that we need to take. For lack of a better way to say it, this is reacting to things that have just occurred. The unexpected, the unexplained, the blindsiding, the unclear, to now the inspired, and allowing certain things to manifest forward. We're making certain steps, and these steps this week really launch us into what's going to happen in eclipse season. It's going to be a very busy 2 months following this week. This is the start of that 2 months. This is the start of the rest of the year. Just know where we're going, and know that you're going to be a lot clearer now, and you don't have to be as careful with your steps. You just need to be mindful. I will always say that. Be mindful, because there are going to be times whenever we pop off at the mouth, because there's going to be popping off. As that happens, and as those certain situations come through, just know that it is better to be clear in our message and what we're educating people in, versus just growling and reacting like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Be mindful. Be mindful of how we continue. Be mindful of the week ahead. Be mindful of your own energy, how you affect people, and how their energy is affecting you, and whether you're being grabbed by their energy or the actual energy in the room, the energy in the transit. So that's what I mean by that. Be mindful of your actions and do your best to keep in control, but don't be surprised when you're grabbed by them. And this is the week of, again, reactive energy, popping off energy. In a lot of ways, it can be really good. In a lot of ways, it's not. It's going to be the trigger week, the pulling the trigger. We do feel like the racehorse. We do feel like there's something that's about to occur. All of us has been feeling it for a while, but we're still waiting for the gun. And I'm saying that as in like the gun, the one that they shoot up in the air gun. Or we're waiting on the whistle or the buzzer or whatever it is. Going back to the mindset of the horse race, like I thought gun. So that's why I'm saying it that way. Part of this week is waiting for the gun. The other part of this week is hitting the course and taking the action and trying to move forward. But remember, a horse is going to be a horse with blinders. They don't necessarily see everything going on around them. So a lot of this week is going to be us being very laser focused on our individual things, not necessarily realizing that there is this side too. And parts of Pluto's dip into Aquarius and parts of this new moon energy and everything else, it will make us feel that outside energy and rock us back and forth to where until we have no choice but to look up and to see the bigger picture and to see everything going on around us and how it's affecting all of those different things. So hit me up with questions, hit me up with concerns. Like I said, I'll do another video this week that'll go over specifically that new moon. And I'll do that by rising sign, and it'll go over, again, the new moon and Pluto and exactly what these two are doing and how it leads into Mars and everything that he's doing. Because this is definitely layered situation where all the different transits are just layering the shit upon shit upon shit upon shit. For lack of a better way to say it. I don't know how to say it. Here's the show, shit show, shit show, shit show, shit show, grand shit show. 7-layer shit show. It's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting. Hit me up with questions. Hit me up with concerns. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate those that have been watching, the ones that share this, and we're getting there. We're we're getting close to eclipse season, and I'm excited for it. So I will talk to you guys soon, and subscribe.